So, welcome to another video. I would like to preface today's video by saying that I am not feeling my best today, so that's why I look a little more casual than normal, and why I will not be doing a tea of the day, because my stomach is not feeling great, and so I'm just drinking water, the magical drink. But I did a poll earlier on my Instagram today asking if you guys would rather have a Bible study for this week's video or more of like a life lesson situation. And you guys ended up doing a 50-50 split. So, yeah. But I was actually just scrolling around on the interwebs today, and I found a video by my coach Josh, but his username on YouTube is Joshua, and then his last name is Eze, and I don't know how to say that, so I'm not going to try. But it was about, it had something like Bentley, is that what it is? Is that the car brand versus a Honda? And it was about how women need to be how women should be being pursued by the man. And that's something that God has been really putting on my heart lately. So I wanted to make a video about it, I guess, and share kind of my my own perspective on that issue. And I will leave the video that Josh did linked down below. And it's an older video, but I just found it today and I thought it was really good. So, but the topic of pursuit has been something that's been on my mind a lot recently. It is something that I personally have always thought was a top priority in a guy, and then I have gotten into relationships in the past where that has not been what has been happening, which is not great. Hold on, I'm going to take a sip of water because I'm really thirsty. So I guess my thought for today is I just want to share and encourage any women who are watching this, because most of my demographic is women, so that's cool, go us. But don't lose faith. Like, I was just reading, what chapter is in Genesis? I was reading, let me get my Bible, hold up. Sorry, I did not plan this well. Okay, sorry, back. I was reading in Genesis earlier this week, and I was reading, which is actually like 2 weeks ago for you guys, but, you know, that's how the internet works, right? But I was reading in chapter 18 of Genesis when God talks to Abraham about how he's going to be he's going to be fulfilling his covenant with Abraham through Sarah, his wife. And I think it's really, like, that part really stuck out to me, because it says that when God told, like, when the three angels came and were like, you're going to have a baby by this time next year, it says that Abraham was 99 years old. And it says later on in Genesis how he was 100 when Isaac was born. And that I don't know, that hit me hard. It was like, you know what? If Abraham, you know, the father of Israel, like, not the father, you know what I mean? Like, if he had to wait 100 years, like, we're far from our story being over. Like, if you're feeling like, and, like, I'm going to preface this, I know I'm young, but, like, there's still that part of me that's like, man, like, you know, I'm ready for that. Like, I want, like, sorry, let me back up. So, that being said, I think that it's really important for us to realize, with relationships especially, that just because you're single now does not mean you're going to be single forever. Or just because I'm going to dive into the deep end. So, I think it's really important for us to remember that, especially as Christian women in today's society, we need to have a higher standard. Because, frankly, a lot of guys in our society are not living up to the standards that we should have for them. And I don't mean that to sound like a mean or a cocky thing. That is something that a lot of us, at least in my friend groups, a lot of us Christian women realize and struggle with. Christian guys in Americanized, at least, Christianity society, a lot of the Christian guys are not really fully pursuing God, and that is an issue that a lot of women, myself included, tend to not want to compromise on, but will compromise because we feel like there's nothing that we can do to change it. And I think that's something really important to keep in mind when you're entering a relationship, because there is definitely something to be said about being unequally yoked. And it's much easier to just cut it off in the beginning than it is when you are, 6 months, 8 months, a year, or longer into a relationship. So, I think it's really important to not only a pursuit aside, make sure that the man that you are interested in / that you are letting pursue you is pursuing you for the right reasons, and is pursuing you from a genuine place of heart and is a Christian. Because if you are a Christian, and this can go for either Christian or non-Christian viewers, but a lot of you guys are Christian. So, but I think it's just really important to realize that if the person that you are in a relationship with or interested in getting into a relationship with is not Christian, it is not going to be God's best for you. And that is something, again, myself included, a lot of us struggle with. And we'll think, oh, well, like, he'll become a Christian eventually. It'll be fine. Maybe God's going to use me to help bring him to his faith. No. If he's not a Christian, don't go into it. Because as all of us know, and all of us, at least raised in the church, are brought up believing is that, for the most part, I should say, the man is the head of the household. And that doesn't just mean in, financial decisions or household decisions or family decisions or whatever. He should also be the head of the household and leading you spiritually. And if a man cannot lead you spiritually, it is not the right relationship for you. And so, sorry, going back to Joshua's video, he was talking about, there was a question that had come in from a woman, and she was saying, I dress really modestly, and I'm 24, and I just am not getting pursued, and I don't know what's up. And Josh brings something up in the video that I think is just so profound and something that all of us need to hear. So again, go watch his video. But he says how I'm going to use, I want to say it was a Bentley, but again, I don't remember if that's right. So he also said Ferrari. So, the Ferraris are going to sell a lot slower than a Honda is going to sell because not everybody can afford a Ferrari, whereas more people can afford a Honda. So, thinking about that with yourself, are you a Ferrari or are you a Honda, and which do you want to be? Because frankly, I don't know about you, but I want to have the standards that a Ferrari has and not the standard of a Honda. So if you are, if you are very open about your faith and you're dressing modestly, or you are openly like, hey, I'm a Christian, and one that is a great example is a lot of Christian guys nowadays want sex before marriage, and I'm sitting here like, ew. Like, the Bible clearly tells us not to do that, for one. For two, anytime, and again, stuff happens, but anytime that you have sex with someone, you are creating a soul tie. And so if it's somebody that you're not married to, it's not going to be a good time if you guys break up, which usually will happen if you're in an unequally yoked relationship. So realizing that, if you're a Ferrari, less people are going to be able to afford you and or not necessarily want you, because, most people would rather have a fancier car than the bare minimum. I'm sorry, the lighting is really bad. The sun is just all over the place today here. Is that better? That's better, okay. Sorry. But so he was talking about how the Ferrari or the Bentley or the whatever is going to be sitting on that sales floor for a while being like, man, it's lonely out here. Nobody's wanting to come look at me, but they're all going and looking at the Hondas. Why am I still sitting here? And it can be so easy, I feel like, for all of us Christian women who are wanting an actual Christian man in a relationship. It can be so difficult sometimes because it seems like, it's never gonna happen. But that's just not the case, we were created, those of us that want to be, I feel like a decent amount of you guys are in the same boat as I am, or in similar ones where you would rather be more of a homemaker situation, or one of your bigger dreams in life is to be a wife. If you're not, sorry for reading you guys wrong. But that is one of my biggest goals in life, is I want to be a homemaker, a wife, and a mother. And knowing that, I am trying to now, as I'm re-entering the dating world, I'm trying to be better about actually finding a guy that can do that. Another thing, I'm going to pull it up because I want to make sure that I say it right. Sorry, I was kind of binge watching some of Josh's videos earlier, but another thing he said was that the man, needs to be able to pursue, provide, and protect. Those are 3 things that are extremely important to realize, especially if you are entering into a relationship. Because most of the friends of mine that I know, will only enter a relationship if we see the potential for marriage. So if you're thinking about that, and that is one of your end goal for dating someone, those 3 key points are extremely important. But realizing that if a man is not pursuing you, cannot protect you, and cannot provide for you, as Josh said, he's not a man if he can't do those 3 things. And so realizing that you are worthy of pursuit is going to be a huge game changer for you. So again, go watch Josh's video, but I like how he said the Bentley versus the Honda, because frankly, it can really feel like how he said with cars obviously don't have emotions, but he was like, for the Bentley or the Ferrari or the fancier car, it's going to be really lonely, and they're going to be on the sales floor for longer than the Honda or, the Toyota or whatever. But that doesn't mean that you are worth less. That means that you are worth more, and that's why it's taking longer for someone to come and buy you. Or, not that you're getting bought, but does that make sense? So I just think it's really important to remember your worth, because I feel like, especially as a Christian woman in today's society, especially if you want that more homemaker, stay-at-home mom type of lifestyle, it can be extremely easy to compare yourself and feel like you're not enough, especially if, your parents or your friends aren't as understanding or supportive as they could be. So I think it's really important, though, to just remember that, if it's something that God has put on your heart to do, he's put that in your heart for a reason, and that there is going to be someone that he will bring into your life at the right time, because as with everything, relationships are in God's timing and God's plan, not our plan. And if they are our plan and not his, they will inevitably explode and implode in our faces. So, yeah. But just really realizing that, the man needs to be pursuing you. If he's not pursuing you, don't do it. If you are in a relationship and the man does not cherish you and realize what he has when he has you, it's not going to be the right one, because you do not want to set the standard while you're dating someone that this is where the bar is set, because they will only reach here if you set the bar here. You want to set the bar high, because then they will actually be treating you like, if you have a higher standard, a guy who just wants a one night stand or, a thing that's not as feature focused, something that's more just casual, he won't be interested if you have a high standard. So if you want marriage, if you want, the corny as it is, the picket white fence and the McMansion, only be dating people who are also wanting that out of a relationship. Set your standards high enough that you're not going to have to weed through the weeds. Because, frankly, men and women alike, I'm not harping on men here. This is something that just society as a whole, we've really lost our structure for marriage and for a serious adult relationship, because we compromised on so many of the values, so many values that we should have. So realizing that if the man is not pursuing you, it's not going to work. Huge game changer. Will help you sort through it'll help you sort through everything. So, number 1, key point here. Do not settle. You need to be getting pursued, because you are precious and you are cherished and you are a daughter of the King. Now, obviously, that does not mean that you are not also going to be loving and pursuing your man. You both need to be pursuing each other equally, but he should be the one initiating, and he should be the one making sure that you... The sun today, guys. Wow. He should be pursuing you guys, because you guys are precious. And, I feel like all of us are all realizing that we're not perfect on our own, and we are working to better ourselves and deepen our faith by deepening our faith, better ourselves because of our faith, if that makes sense. And so when you realize that, you're going to, 1, realize, you're worth more than this much effort. And 2, you're going to realize that if the guy isn't pursuing you, it's not going to last. And I hate to say that, because it makes me feel like a bad person, but, you need to be getting cherished in a relationship for it to work, because you do. It's just one of the things. Like, if you are dating someone and they don't make you feel like you're I'm going to use really corny examples, so bear with me. If you are dating someone and they make you feel like you are ugly, they make you feel like there are girls that are way prettier than you, they make you feel like you're inadequate for any reason of any kind, they're not going to be the right person for you, because the person who is the person that God is prepared you to be with and is preparing for you, which I don't think there's any necessarily one person for us. I feel like there are definitely a handful, but that being said, the people that God are purposely creating that could be potential matches for you, and vice versa, that you could be matches with, they will realize what they have when they have you. Because, I forget what song it is, but the song where it's you don't know what you got till it's gone. You don't want a guy like that. You want a guy who realizes what he has when he has you. So, number 1, if you are not getting pursued, do not continue that relationship, because you need to get pursued. So, point number 1, there's that. Now, I want to do this in the order that he had it. The provide part. This is also really important. I read one of the same guy, the same YouTuber. He wrote a book a couple of years ago called The Purpose of Singleness, I think, and it was are you whole or are you full of holes? And I read that book and it was great. But one of the things that he mentioned is that if you are going to enter a relationship with a man, he needs to know what his life's purpose is and either have started getting to that, either reached it and is still working on it, or he has at least started that purpose. And that's something really important, because if you are a woman who you know deep down in your heart that your life's purpose is to be that support for whoever you end up with and to be more of that homemaker type situation, you need a guy that can be the provider for the family. Because if you're the homemaker, you cannot also be the breadwinner. I mean, you can, but you don't want to walk into it expecting that you have to be the breadwinner. You need to have a man who can provide for you and can provide for himself as well. That's something else that's really important to remember. If you are becoming the mother of whoever you're dating, that is not okay. You should be dating someone who is whole on their own and not full of holes. A comparison that I used with one of my friends a couple weeks ago, a pair of tennis shoes or boots or whatever, lace-up shoes. You cannot have a full pair of shoes if one of the shoes is missing shoelaces, can you? No, because that just doesn't work. So you need to be entering into a relationship with someone that is a whole shoe on their own while you are a whole shoe on your own. I mean, obviously we're all going to be growing and learning and, becoming better people as life goes on, but you need to be able to fully stand on your own and be comfortable being alone before you can enter into a relationship for it to be healthy. And that needs to be the same perspective of the man, because if either of you feel like you need a relationship to validate yourself, it is not going to be built on the strongest foundation that it could be, and it's not going to last. So do not enter a relationship with someone if you are not complete on your own and you feel like you need the validation of somebody else to be seen as worth it, to be seen as, someone that is worth having any type of friendship with. You need to be secure in who you are as a person and your skills and your abilities before you enter a relationship for it to be a healthy one. Because if you enter into a relationship where you have no self-confidence going into it, you do not feel confident in who you are as a person, what you look like, what skills you have. If you're entering into a relationship like that, it will not be the best relationship that it could be. And that also goes for your partner. Your partner, the man who is pursuing you, if he is not confident in who he is, if he is not a full shoe on his own, do not continue to be interested in that relationship. It can be difficult to tell that to a person, but it's something to keep in mind if you are wanting that more traditional lifestyle with having the man be the sole breadwinner, or mostly the sole breadwinner. So that being said, make sure that you are entering into a relationship with someone that can be an adult on their own and will not need you to mother them, to motivate them to do things, to, provide for you. They should be wanting to do those things, they should be doing those things already because that's what, an adult does. But two, with they should be wanting to do those things in order to show you their love for you, I guess, if that makes sense, versus you having to constantly nag them about doing those things. I hope that makes sense. So make sure that he is pursuing and providing. And the last one is the protect part. And I think that that's really important, especially with the way that a lot of our world is going. You need to be entering into a relationship with someone that is willing to stick up for you to anybody. Because if you are wanting more of a traditional lifestyle, like I keep saying, if you want to be more of the homemaker type situation, you are inevitably going to face a lot of backlash from today's society because, we're basically taught now as women, at least I was, that if you do not have a career, if you are not interested in a career, if you are not making money and you are staying at home as a mother, you are kind of pointless and should not be doing that, which I think is absolutely heartbreaking because, that's my biggest dream. But I mean, that aside, when all of the whole feminism thing started, it was so that women could have both. They could have either the career or kids or both. And I think it's heartbreaking that we are now saying that if women want children and that's one of their biggest dreams in life, they're a failure. And so realizing that, you need a man who's going to be able to not only stick up for you in that sense, but if anybody ever says anything bad about you, he needs to be able to able and want to defend you. He should be sticking up for you to, even if it's his family said something bad about you, he should be sticking up for you in that respect. And also the protection part, he should be able to protect your family if anything bad were to happen. Now, I mean, who knows what that could be, but if he can't do those 3 things, do not enter into... Sorry, I keep having to move because the sun keeps moving. But, like, I don't know if that makes any sense, but if a guy is not pursuing you, cannot provide for you, and cannot protect you and your future family eventually, it's not worth continuing that relationship if your end goal is marriage and having a family. And I feel bad saying that because... You know, I'm definitely like an empathetic and feeling person, so I feel bad saying that because I know that there are going to be some of us out there that, you know, have those people in our lives that, you know, could be great, but they might not, and, like, you know, you're on the fence, but, like, if realistically you can't, like, the person that you're talking to does not see themselves getting married in 5 or 10 years, or however long it is until you want to get married, and cannot see themselves having kids for however long it takes, or however long you want to wait to have kids, if that makes sense, it's not worth it to enter into a relationship of any kind, like a romantic relationship where you're committing to each other with that person if your end goals are not compatible with that. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm sorry. I'm rambling. But yeah, I just think it's really important, and I've already made this video a lot longer than I meant to, but just realize your worth. Realize that you were created with the personality traits and the characteristics and, again, this one's lame, but the physical body that you were for a reason. And I'm not saying that, you know, I'm all for body positivity, but at the same time, we need to be healthy, because in order to fulfill our God-given purpose, we need to have the physical capabilities to do that. So, I mean, like, I'm going to just use my own body as an example. I have more of an hourglass figure, and I have wider hips, and I've always hated that about myself, because... That being said, I also tend to gain weight, if I gain weight, in my, like, lower belly area, and I've always hated that about myself. But in order to be the best person that I can be for my partner, which obviously, like, isn't the biggest thing, but if you're entering into a relationship with someone, you should be able to be whole on your own. So in realizing, you know, that God made me the body type and the personality traits and, like, my quirks for a reason, that is a huge game changer. So until you realize that, you can't fully unleash your potential, because when you realize that God created you, like, he was like, yo, God didn't say you, I'm sorry. He was like, hey, we need somebody on this planet that has this personality traits, is this height, has this hair color, this hair type, whatever. He created you and, like, exactly the way you are for a reason and for a purpose. And only you can fulfill that purpose because you're the only person like you. That is a huge game changer and makes you realize that, you know, you're not a Honda. You're a Ferrari or a whatever. Like, I don't know. Just realizing that, it was a huge game changer for me and helped me realize that, you know, I am worth the pursuit, the provision, and the protection that a, like, actual relationship should have from the other person, if that makes sense. So I guess I rambled much longer than I meant to. Again, like I said, I was thinking this would maybe be 5 minutes, and I'm at, like, 25. So, go me. But if you leave with this video with nothing else, I just want you to know, and I want you to remember and actually apply in your life, that you are worthy of being pursued because God created you the way that you are for a reason. You are worthy of having someone who can provide for you and who will provide for you, because frankly, if the guy can't provide for himself and for you, he's not ready for a relationship. And thirdly and finally, you need to find somebody that is able to protect you and protect your family eventually. Because if you are entering into a union with someone or a relationship, like officially dating someone who cannot do that, you could be in for a world of hurt later. Because if you want the more traditional lifestyle in today's modern society, you are going to face backlash. And that is a lot, at least if you are more of a feeler like I am, that is a lot for one person to have on, that is a large burden for one person to have on their shoulders. So, you need to have somebody that can stick up for you and be like, no, they are not lazy. They are not, you know, ambitionless. They are not whatever. You need someone that you need someone that not only supports you, but can defend why you're doing it, because that is what they want in a partner as well, if that makes sense. Like, you don't want to date a guy who's like, oh no, my wife needs to be working a 9 to 5 if you are not going to be working a 9 to 5. You need a man who realizes the beauty and the respectability in being a homemaker / housewife / whatever you want to call it, because he will better be able to defend you to anyone who will start coming and being like, oh no, you just have, no ambition, or you're not skilled, or you're not qualified, or whatever, and you can't get a job. Because realistically, a lot of us can, and a lot of the homemakers that I know are actually like really intelligent and knowledgeable people that, you know, sure, they're a homemaker, but they did that by choice. They weren't necessarily forced to do that. And I feel like that's something that, sorry, I'm going on another tangent. That's something that our society, again, tends to forget. A lot of the women who are homemakers are portrayed by our culture as being these, like, uneducated and, like, idiotic women who don't know how to do anything and just get stuck at home and hate having to clean and cook and whatever. But a lot of the homemakers I know, like, one of my grandmas is a homemaker, or was a homemaker / like still is housewife, and she's like one of the coolest people ever. And they adopted a bunch of kids, so that was one of the reasons I'm sure she stayed home. But I mean, like, she has a couple master's degrees. She like is always doing really productive and cool things, and I just think it's really important to realize that if that is a goal of yours, that doesn't mean that, like, society says you're worthless, or you're not knowledgeable, or you're not good enough, that you are what's the word? Inadequate is the word I'm looking for. Society will tell a lot of people that if you want to be a homemaker or a housewife, you're just inadequate at anything else, and so that's what you have to do. But realizing that that's not the case, and that if that was a dream that was placed on your heart, it's there for a reason, and that it's an admirable thing to want and to seek after, your, like, entire game will change dramatically. You will not only feel more confident in yourself, but you will also feel more confident entering into a relationship and being like, you know, I do want marriage, and that's the only reason I would date you is for marriage, and that's what I want to do. So hopefully you're okay with that. If you're not, like, you know, you have to be understanding and be like, I get it. If that's not what you want, let me know. We'll dip out. Like, it's fine. But I don't know. Just realize that if you are more traditional and you want to have that more traditional home life and, you know, be a homemaker, it's not inadequate, and realizing that, like, that is the one of the takeaways. I realized that I just rambled more than I meant to, but you also say 2 takeaways. If you want to be a homemaker, you're not inadequate. That's a completely and totally admirable and one of the admirable thing to do, but also one of the reasons that God created woman was to be the support for the man, and also to, you know, raise children. But if you don't want to, again, nothing against you. I also know great, like, amazing people that are not. But, you know, if it's something that it was put on, that if being that figure is something that you've always dreamt of doing and has always been kind of like on your heart to do, don't feel like you can't do it because of what society says, or that, you know, a guy won't like you for that or whatever, because the right guy will still be interested in you and will still be, you know, 110% down for that. So takeaway number 1 is that. And takeaway number 2, you need to make sure that whoever you are entering into a relationship with is pursuing you. Key factor, he is pursuing you. He can provide for you and your future family eventually, and he can protect you and your future family eventually. And that doesn't mean that he can do all of that right now necessarily. Like I said, he needs to know what his purpose is and at least be pursuing it if he hasn't already accomplished, like, bits, like, because our purpose isn't just, you know, oh, I'm here now, I'm there, I'm good. It's, you know, it's always a staircase and ebbs and flows and stuff. But as long as he's working towards his purpose, that's what really matters, because realistically, you can't really be a support for someone if they aren't going anywhere. Does that make sense? You can't support someone and be that, you know, supportive figure in a relationship if they're not going towards anything for you to support, if that makes sense. But yes, so there's that. And again, I've rambled much longer than I meant to, but I just have had this on my heart for a while to share. And I can elaborate more on this in another video if you guys want me to, or on Instagram or whatever. Let me know in the comments if you guys want more of, like, this type of thing, because I have a lot of feelings on, like, you know, more of a classic lifestyle / on femininity and just relationships in general, and I am really interested in, like, learning more about those types of things. But yeah, sorry, I rambled a lot longer than I meant to. But just realize that, you know, you're worth being pursued, that you are worth someone that wants to provide for you and can provide for you, and that you're worth someone who can and will protect you. So if you leave with nothing else today, I hope you leave knowing that you are cherished and loved, and that you are worth the wait, and that you are worth being pursued. That is ultimately the most important thing that many of us Christian women in our society tend to forget. And I hope that you guys just, realize that it's not something that you should have to not have happen. You should be in a relationship where the man wants to pursue you and pursues you like you are the most amazing person ever, because to whoever you end up marrying, you should be the most amazing person ever, aside from Jesus, obviously, but you guys know what I mean. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your, I don't know what day this is going up because I'm filming this ahead of time, but I hope you have a great rest of your day or night or afternoon or morning, whatever it is. But yeah, if you guys are interested in more content like this, please feel free to subscribe and give me a like on this video so that I know you guys want more content like this, or leave comments down below, whatever. If you want more daily content / weekly content from me, again, feel free to follow me at my Instagram. I will leave it linked in the description down below. But I have rambled much longer than I meant to, and I will let you guys go now. But as always, light, luck, and love. Bye, guys.